everybody. I'm Rick. I'm not your regular host, and I'm not really supposed to be here. I am a Habs fan. I'm filling in for Alex. He's a little bit late. I'm here with my gracious co-host, Eric, over there, who is one of your regular guys.
Yeah.
Say hi, Eric.
Hello, hockey world, Flyer world, and we're just waiting on Alex and Jamey's supposed to be stopping by later too. This is just supposed to be like a little quick, not really a post game, but more like a little quick Torts reaction pod, I guess.
Yeah,
because we would have loved to do one earlier today, but unfortunately, we all kind of work, and so didn't really get a chance. So yeah, it's that's on the docket tonight.
and me being here, kind of against my. You guys just beat us.
Yeah.
Like embarrassingly 6-3. I'm not very happy about that. So, but I mean, it is what it is. As far as for the Habs, thank God they have the room to have a loss or two, and still be okay.
Yeah.
Oh well.
They have enough of a cushion right now.
And listen, the way you guys were playing coming in, right, and then they fired Torts. So, like, I saw that and go. Like, they're going to get that new coach bump. And, like, you could see what happened tonight. You could see that happening, and I was hoping not. I called the game 8-3 Montreal. Was I ever fucking wrong?
Only off by a couple goals there, Rick. Only off by a couple.
Just a couple. You guys almost beat us 8-3.
Well, you know what? It finished 6-4 there. Freaking Michkov hits the post on an empty net to not get the hat trick.
Yeah, I'm very happy with that. Why? Because I think he got 3 points in the game, and Hudson got 2. So he only picked up 1 on that. He was 3 points behind Hudson, so there's still room there. So I'm happy about that.
The race continues, Rick. The race continues.
Listen, it's a hell of a race. I mean, listen, everybody had Michkov kind of out of the race, and now he's the second guy in the race. So you never know, right? You just never know. And there's enough games left for that to happen. So fingers crossed, Hudson stays ahead.
I think Celebrini's playing later tonight, and I think they had on the broadcast that with the 3 points he has tonight, he just went 1 point past Celebrini or something like that. So
I thought, I think because I think he is right now. He's ahead of Celebrini.
With the 3 points tonight, he's ahead.
So we'll see what Celebrini does there. All right. So, anyways, that's not why we're here to talk. I guess I can talk on this with you. So they fired Tortorella. I guess my question to you is, because to me it was a bit of a surprise, because I direct this podcast, so I know what you guys talk about all the time, and it's been mentioned many times, right? He's going to coach next season, or he's stepping up to the front office, and clearly they didn't fire him because, we're going to put him in the front office, because then they would have said he's going to stay as a consultant or whatever, right? Yeah. And that didn't happen. So they were going to let him go in the offseason. That's what I see. I think they let him go. Oh, I don't have it here, but they let him go for a comment he made just the other day, the last loss, and he said he's not really interested in coaching a team like this in the situation that they're in.
Yeah.
And my thought was, that's not a good thing to say.
Yeah. Well, the comments he made didn't put him in the best light. That's definitely for sure. I kind of understood what he meant in a way. Like, he's like, I'm not, because Tortorella's not one of those coaches that's really that's wants to take on a rebuilding team. He's like one of those win now coaches. Like, if the team's ready or at least half decent, like the Columbus team he had, like, he's like the perfect coach for those situations. And I think just the toll of the season was catching up to him, and especially lately, especially after the trade deadline, like Briere, I wouldn't say he gutted the team, but he got rid of, even before the trade deadline, he got rid of Frost. That's one center. Then he got rid of Lawton, another center, and so now we're dressing AHLers as centers now, and you know, I'm sure it's not fun for the guy, and like he's at a certain age too, right? Where if this is his last kick with the can, like I'm sure he doesn't want, he doesn't want to go down on a sinking ship, like or not.
No,
It's not the best way to put it, but on a rebuilding team, I should say.
He's not the kind of coach really for that situation. So, but still, I mean, but you know what? He's a guy with a temper, right? He's kind of hot-headed, and it can, and so that's probably what happened there. I don't, he didn't think about what he was saying, but it's weird that, I mean, that happened, and then like he's fired almost the next day.
Well, look, Briere had a press conference earlier today before the game, and look, he said that was not like the factor that made him come to this decision, but it was one. Like apparently there was, I think Briere had said something like
Jamey.
In the past 3 weeks. Oh, Jamie's here?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Hey.
Continue what you were saying.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, because Eric was in the middle of saying something. But hey, everybody, Jamey, he's here. Hey, Jamey, welcome, I'm filling in for Alex. I'm filling in for Alex because he's running late.
Oh, okay.
You guys just beat us, and I'm not very fucking happy.
Well, I'm sure the tank crowd isn't too happy either there, Rick.
True. The tank crowd must not be very happy with this either.
No, they're pretty disappointed. I mean, that was a good game. Brad Sauls 1-0.
Well, yeah. I disagree with that it was a good game, but I guess if you're a Flyers fan, it was. It wasn't a very good game on my end. No way. Very disappointing loss by Montreal to you guys. But you know what? I was saying this to Eric just a minute ago. It was very like you could predict this, right? After I heard Torts was fired, I was like, oh my God, we're gonna lose this game. Right? The new coach bump, they're gonna play hard because they want the coach to give them ice time down the rest of this. So you could see this happening. That was gonna happen. And it did. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, the Flyers played well. I mean, they look like the old Flyers energy power play goal. Too.
Yeah.
We got one. Jamey, we got one.
Yeah.
We got one in the month of March.
Yeah.
We did it, buddy. It only took 27 days, but we did it.
What is it? It was like 41 power plays or something in March. And it was something like that. They said it during the game.
Yeah. 40, 41, something like that. I lost after 31. To be honest with you.
Let's get to some serious stuff. So, like I was just saying, I direct the Flyera podcast, so I know the stuff you guys talk about every week. So, Jamey, you were pretty sure, I think you all were, that he was not going to get fired, and he was either going to coach next season or step up to the front office or something. So, how surprised are you at this? And did you have any inkling that this was going to happen?
No, I'm going to be honest. I had no inkling that it was going to happen now. I thought it could be a possibility at the end of the year, most like everybody, right? But I really thought he was going to go upstairs. The Flyers were very high on, in Danny Briere's presser. I think some things changed. He wanted to win, and that became evident. Danny Briere mentioned that, and I think that was a big problem. There was a miscommunication between him and the management, and it was more or less on Torts' end than management. I mean, they were pretty honest, and Torts was as well. Unfortunately, that Torts wanted to win, and and he started to get very disappointed the past 2 to 3 weeks, especially on this losing skid. Losing brings the worst out of people, and it brought the worst out of Torts. I mean, they lost the last 11 out of 12. And as a coach, you always want to win, but it's kind of shocking because he knew that this could be a possibility. That he was part of, and he was on board with the trades. It wasn't like he was shocked, and he talked about it quite often. So,
but he's an
I don't know what he expected. I firmly believe he lost the locker room. I think that's the big thing.
Yeah. I think after the last game, I was just telling Eric that quote that I have of him, that where he said he's not really interested in coaching a team like this, and I think that because a day later he's fired.
Yeah. I mean, the key quote was losing on the regularity brought the worst out of it's like something like brought the worst out of Torts. I thought that was a key quote to Danny Brière's presser. Yeah. And with that, if they're constantly losing and he benching Cam York was benched again tonight. It was kind of weird on, why Cam York was benched again tonight. But I think that as an organization, I think they backed Torts with Cam York being benched, I guess. And something could have happened between him and Brad Shaw as well. But I think that, that it just got so bad, these past 2 or 3 weeks with, like Danny hinted at. And I think that the players lost touch. I think that with benching York, I think that was the final straw for the players to say, you know what, this is crazy what's going on. They just looked demoralized. They didn't look interested, on Tuesday at all against Toronto.
Yeah.
And to see Torts gone today and to see this team play this hard against, a playoff caliber team like Montreal, it shows to me that Torts lost the locker room.
Yeah. Listen, I just got to take a second. I haven't actually said hi to anybody that's here. So we got Dakota's here. Hey, Dakota. This was supposed to be live 15 minutes ago. Yeah, we had to delay. As you see, Alex is not here. And then he said, "You're late." Yeah, we are. Alex says he's on his way. And hey, Andre from my channel there. So that's it. I thought there was other comments. Alex should be here any minute. So anyway, hopefully we fill in nicely.
But it's going to be interesting to see what Shawsey says about Cam York. I think that one of us should actually take part in that, presser here shortly with Brad Shaw to see what he says about Cam York. Because I think he's going to address that actually in his presser. And I think that's a big one. I don't know. I just, to be honest with you, I'm surprised at the timing of it, but I could see it. I mean, you lose the locker room. You're benching, young people when a young player like Cam York. You could have seriously benched anyone that night, minus Ryan Poehling and maybe Sam Yorson, because I think both of them are trying. But everyone else you probably could have benched. And I don't think the room got over Sean Couturier's benching last year. I think that was a big indicator too. Like when Danny Brière says there's multiple things, I think that the big thing. I think that the players, I think he lost the room, but I think certain benchings, at weird times like benching Cam York or benching Mafi Michkov, in game who may not even understand why he's being benched. There were some weird benchings. Now, I don't disagree with Cam York being benched by any means. It's not like he's playing the greatest hockey, you know what I mean? But it's the timing of it. Like, you bench him 3 minutes and 50 seconds into the game where everyone was playing like crap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you held him accountable over everybody else. It's kind of weird on, why that happened, why that transpired that way. But I think it was just all that culminated into saying, hey, we need to show face to these guys that are busting their butts on a daily basis. We need to get rid of him now.
You can't screw their confidence.
That's what I mean.
Their confidence.
Confidence, and there's some key players that need to resign here, at the end of the year. You have Noah Cates to resign. You have Cam York to resign. They got to figure out what they want to do with the goalie situation here, whether they want to keep Fedotov, whether they want to keep, I think another thing is weird is that he recalled, and he's part of it, they recall Kolosov, and he's not even being dressed. Like this whole, I don't know.
I thought that was weird. I thought
maybe he's disagreeing with that. Maybe he's just disagreeing with everything that the regime is doing right now. You know what I mean? And that culminated in his termination. And we're going to find a lot out, but you're not going to find too much out. Does that make sense? Like, I don't think we'll ever find out the actual truth. We'll spin it around the truth.
Probably. You're probably right. But I still think that is that quote. If I was the GM and my coach said that at that point, I would say, yeah, he's got to go no matter what.
That was part of it. The quote was definitely part of it. And to me, that showed that the players were right, that he's checked out. You know what I mean? That he wants to win. And I don't think he actually meant that. I think what he meant, I actually think he meant something else. But I could understand why it was taken that way by everyone, to include the players. I actually think what he meant to say was he doesn't want to learn how to coach this way because they're losing. So if he learns how to coach this way, then they learn how to lose this way. I think that's how I interpreted that.
No, that makes sense, but still, you got to think that is everyone going to know what he means by that?
No,
or are they going to take
by no means, no.
And what he said was, you got to think that's pretty clear. Anyway, Alex is here finally. Hey, Alex.
Sorry about that, everyone. So my bowling league, I'm usually home by 9:30, the latest. It ended at 9:30 tonight. Everything that could have held me up tonight. Go figure. But I'm here.
Don't worry, we got you.
And I'm ready to get in. I got a lot to get off my chest. Oof, this was something. So I see this at a little after 9 a.m. and I'm just like, wait a minute.
We lost Jamey.
We lost Jamey for a minute. Hopefully he'll be back. But maybe he was just here to give his opinion because I understand if he's got kids. So
yeah, for sure.
With that. But anyway, so I look at this at about 9-ish a.m. when it first came up, and I'm just thinking to myself, wait a minute, hold on, time out. They did what? And I'm just flabbergasted. It's not the fact that they terminated him. It was just the timing of it that stunned me. Like, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, this has to fall back to the Tuesday comments like everyone else is probably thinking at this point. But I'm also thinking at the same time, like, why now? Like, even with the Tuesday comments, as bad as it was, is it really that big of a deal to hold this on to this guy for another 9 days?
Yeah, honestly, I would have let him go at that point.
So I'm thinking, and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Is there something else? And Danny's presser was interesting today. I'll get to that in a moment. So I'm thinking about this, and I was going to mention this on one of the upcoming Flyers pods. I guess I mentioned going into it that I was 50-50 on keeping Torts. I thought that number was slowly starting to wean in the favor of termination, but I would have obviously waited till the end of the year. So the thing that really threw me for a wits with this interview was the fact that he even said it to begin with. I understand what he was trying to come from. Like, okay, no one likes to lose. No one likes to coach a losing team. He's been here 3 years. All 3 years, the team didn't make the playoffs. The first year, he was seeing more what he had. The second year, they came close, but they kind of fell apart at the end. And then this year, they took the major regression. And Danny kind of mentioned that in his presser today. Again, I'll get into that in a moment. But it's one of those things that you look at, and it's like, it's better to be left unsaid than to say anything at all. So I want to put, and Danny's presser was very interesting today. So now I want to point out a couple of things when it came to this. So one of the things that I put up a poll today that asked what do you think they should do for an approach? And I got a good amount of votes on this. And the voting on this is probably close to 60-40 that the fans think they're going to add a little bit. And I could see both sides of the argument. I understand wanting to add because you want to build around Michkov and try to, put him in the best possible position to succeed. I understand wanting to tank because do one more year, get another load of prospects. 2026 is an even better draft. Do you want to make the push for McKenna, see what happens there? So I'm looking at this. Eric, did you listen to Danny's presser at all today?
Yeah, I did.
The 4-minute mark of that was telling. When Danny comes up and says, they're ready to move into the next phase. That right there tells me all I need to know. They're not tanking next year. They're adding. the fact that he used that exact type of wording, they're not tanking.
Well, that's a mistake.
This is rock bottom. That was another interesting quote I heard in this too. He hopes this is rock bottom. I don't think he uses that wording if he truly believes that they're going to go into a mode of tanking next year.
Well, you're in a rebuild. How are you not?
No, but my point being, I think he would have came out with different terminology and said, we're in for a little bit more hard times before we move into the next phase of this rebuild. Well, he came out and said, this is the worst I expected to get. Well, we're ready to move into the next phase.
In my opinion, that's totally wrong to be thinking that at this point.
Yeah.
So, and you know, it depends because they do have a lot of ammunition. So it makes me think Danny's going to look at this and like, we're getting a top 5 pick likely this year. We're going to get a good piece. He must be very confident they're going to get a top 3, one of these centers, and he must have something in the works. He must have something.
But can I say this? He is talking about a rebuild, that you guys are in a rebuild. I've heard that, right?
Yes.
There's no way you guys are out of a rebuild.
No. I'm not saying that.
You can't.
I'm not saying
you can add, but it's not those big kind of ads, though.
And that comes to the next point of his discussion. He said he anticipates them taking steps. They will be small steps. He used that wordage too. But they will be steps in this. And I looked at that and I'm like, okay, so based off of this, he wants to take a step forward next year. He doesn't want to go to the point that they're going to go adding like crazy, like it's the 07 summer all over again and push this team to the conference finals. Like you had Snyder days and the Paul Holmgren days.
But your team's not showing signs of being ready for that, in my opinion. I mean, we're just coming through a rebuild now. Like we're going through this.
So, like, and
your team has to give you that sign when it's ready. I don't see that out of you guys yet.
I don't see, and that's why I'm like I've always been 50-50 on this because, like I said, if Danny's using this type of terminology, he must be dead confident in 2 things. Number one, he's got something in the works for a massive trade in the offseason. I don't know what player he's honing on or what specifically he's trying to do, but he's after someone or something. And number 2, he must feel good that they're going to get a good center that they know they can pair with Michkov in this draft. They got 7 picks in the top 50. So that's where that comes at to me. And I think the reason for Torts' termination is this was the final straw with the way he handled York and his comments in the draft. I mean, about what he said of, oh, I don't know how to handle, or I'm not interested in coaching in a situation like this.
Right.
With a team like this right now, or a rebuild like this. And I agree with Jamey. I don't think that's what he meant. But it's one of those things that, as I mentioned, it's better left unsaid and not even say that at all.
Can I give another idea of what happened? There might be some disagreement between him and Briere.
I think
and in his frustration, he's kind of sending a message to Briere, I'm not interested in coaching a team like this.
Yes, and
whatever they're arguing about, and then Briere's reaction was, well, you're gone.
There was definitely some stuff behind the scenes. Danny mentioned that from the trade deadline on, that this was starting to build. That was one of the major things that he mentioned in today's presser. And we also have an interesting quote. So I was listening to stuff today. So I was listening to something from TSN. Pierre LeBrun was talking, I believe, I don't know if it was to Craig Button or one of the TSN broadcasters. He mentioned something big here, that this wasn't something that was building up quickly. This was something that manifested over the last couple of days. I want to play a clip here that talks about this. We're going to play it right now if we have it pulled up. Give us one moment.
I got it. You want me to do it?
Yeah, play that real quick.
Alrighty. I said I got to hear this.
2 days after a very frustrated John Tortorella said, I'm not really interested in learning how to coach in this type of season, the Flyers fired their head coach. To speak to that, here's our insider, Pierre LeBrun. Pierre, there's no way the Flyers fired Tortorella for that one comment alone. But given where the organization is in its rebuild, if Tortorella doesn't want to coach this sort of group, did that make his firing inevitable?
It was certainly part of it, Gino. Let me walk you through this because it's been a wild couple of days with the Philadelphia Flyers. I myself, on Tuesday morning at the morning skates for the Flyers played the Leafs, had an interview with Daniel Briere. I asked him about John Tortorella's future, and at the time, Briere, what he said was that he was going to sit down with John Tortorella after the season and see how he felt mentally, physically. You know, we know John Tortorella is 66, but has another year on his deal. And so that was it. I mean, there was no sense at the time that anything was coming here anytime soon, if at all. But it just shows you how quickly and dramatically this story and this situation changed over the last 48 hours. Yes, the post-game comments after the loss to Toronto were part of it, but I'm also told via sources that there was also comments from Tortorella with management behind the scenes in the last 24 hours that ultimately forced the hand of Danny Briere and Keith Jones, management group there in Philly, to decide to fire John Tortorella. I don't know if you want to call it a mercy fire in some ways, Gino, but the sense is that, you know, some of the things that were said, both, you know, post-game publicly, but also I think behind the scenes, led to this fire. And again, let me be clear, this was never the game plan for Danny Briere and Keith Jones. Yeah. They wanted to wait until the season was over to meet with Tortorella and figure out the future. But it feels like their hand was forced here. So again, fascinating, and including the fact that Tortorella himself, even as of Tuesday morning, telling the media that he understood the rebuild and that why they had to trade away players and that the rest of the season was going to be difficult. So it really goes to show you how quickly this escalated between Tuesday morning to Thursday morning.
That was interesting, especially. Pierre LeBrun's a very informed individual, and I take his word on this. Just as of Tuesday morning, they're speaking like everything, they're not even close to this point. There was stuff that boiled up, but I don't think that Briere was ever considering on terminating Torts. I think there was the buildup, as Briere said. I don't think he was lying in his presser. But between the York comments, the York benching, and the way he perceived himself in that interview and the stuff behind the scenes was the massive push that happened in the last 48 hours. So I think it was 50% what happened on Tuesday and 50% of the buildup. I have a feeling they were going to move on from him at the end of the year, just based off of the way things were leading and struggling and how bad they were playing over the last 12 games and how things were going. And towards his comments then probably irritated the front brass. They probably confronted him about it. There was some major disagreement, most likely behind the scenes. I can't confirm that for sure. I'm just going based off the speculation, what Pierre said. And then the door was pretty much just left open and said, this is it. We have to end this now. The locker room's starting to get lost. We're not having the same vision as this guy anymore. We need to make a change. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, I was just talking about Beer's the comments we were talking about before. The way I perceived Beer's comments is like, yeah, he wants to take a step forward, but I don't think he meant like actually making like a big trade or whatever and just trying to actually take a I think he wants next season wants to integrate more younger players into the lineup. And I'm thinking that maybe like Torts, that's the vision. Like he's like Torts maybe they didn't have that same vision where he's like, no, we need like more veterans in here. We need like more established players in here. And,
right.
And maybe that was the disconnect between Briere and Torts, because excuse me, if you like it, you take the comments that he made, and but the thing is like, but this is a rebuilding team, and
yeah.
When Briere talks about we don't want to be like the last few games, is I think he literally means like the last few games where we're getting our asses handed to us. But that's also because like at the end of the day, man, they just came off like a road trip against like some top teams, and then look, we're dressing half an AHL roster, and so So yeah, like I don't think he sees maybe next season like to lose the way they've been losing the last couple of games. So, and I think if Briere sees, he envisions that there's going to be more youth into this lineup, more kids that are going to make mistakes, kids that like, like are going to have to learn on the job, that maybe Torts actually isn't the best coach for that situation. Because like, look, like it's weird too, because like, what was it, 2 months ago, like we said, when Torts had benched Michkov for half a game, right? And then he came out and said it like a couple days later. Oh, you know what? I really shouldn't have done that. It's not great for the player. It's not good for this. It's not good for that. Blah, 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 whatever. And then he does the same thing to Cam York last night, on Tuesday night. Like, you bench him for the whole game. Like, I think Mishkov played almost the whole period. So, but so I think, and you know what? Actually, I was listening to Charlie O'Connor today, and he made actually a really good point. He talked about how like it's the last game of a road trip. Your defense at that point is exhausted, right? Yeah. And then you bench you're one of the biggest minute eaters on your defense. So not only are you like you're punishing Cam York, but you're punishing the rest of the defense. Like now these guys have to play more minutes than they're used to. Like they're exhausted. They don't want to be there for like playing 5 to 10 more minutes a game. It's like, so like, yeah, I think like at one point, I think now he lost the room, and I think Briere saw this and he goes, you know what? No, like I wanted he probably wanted, there was probably going to be a parting of ways in the offseason. Everything that I've been hearing today on different pods from different insiders and everything, it really did sound like there was going to be a parting of ways this summer. But I think it got to a point where Briere's like, you know what? I got to do this now before it gets even worse and I start losing some of these kids,
So the one interesting thing today, and honestly, you make some very good points. That could honestly be it. Maybe it is a youth integration. Like maybe they just want to go with a younger movement that they get, and maybe their version of rock bottom is just having this many struggling vets. And maybe they move a piece or two out and try to bring younger guys into this lineup like a Luchenko or Grabenkin or an Alex Bond or something like that.
Exactly.
Guys that seem like they're ready to take that next step.
Right. Called development. That's what your next step should be, is developing somebody.
And that would make sense. It's just a rock bottom comment is what really that in the fact that he seemed like that next phase. But you know what? You do make a fair point, Eric. Maybe that is his version of the next phase of a bit of a youth movement. I honestly didn't even think of
what it should be.
Because I put the rock bottom comment more with the struggling comment as like he wants to bring, I'm not saying like bring a 28-year-old center who's already fully developed, that's not in this time frame, but like a 22, 23-year-old kid who's semi-developed that would be kind of closer to the time frame of this is what I was thinking what his meaning was towards that. But it's definitely interesting looking at this in the big picture. So I also thought it was interesting, too, that Cam York didn't play any time tonight. He missed the entire game, didn't he?
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I found out why now. So before you came on, I was mentioning to Eric and Rick, I think it was important that one of us went on to find out, because Bradshaw was going to address it in his presser, and he sure did. He said it was a disciplinary issue.
Okay.
And he wouldn't comment further on that, but he said it was a disciplinary issue. He didn't say, from Torts, if it was something on Tuesday or something, yesterday or today, but he said he was definitely, in fact, benched because of a disciplinary issue, and he expects him in the lineup on Saturday.
Oh, that okay.
So from what this tells me, there was a coming out of Cam York and John Tortorella, most likely on Tuesday. There was probably some words said, some things that you probably can't take back.
Yeah.
And the best way to fix this would be like pretty much two kids putting them in timeout.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe obviously a more excessive version, but Torts has been terminated. York, you're sitting for a game. We don't have any call-ups anyway, and you're not injured, so we're just going to run 5 defensemen, dress you, but not actually play you. So now the Torts will likely be in the lineup next game. That kind of makes more sense when you connect the dots based off of what happened on Tuesday.
But then Sanheim said some really good stuff about Torts. He said he wouldn't have made the Four Nations if he didn't have a coach like Torts. And he was like, Torts has done so much for him in his career that he's so thankful for him, and that he wouldn't, he couldn't, envision playing for another coach but Torts.
And you know what? Torts, I think the first 2 years John Tortorella here were extremely major positives for this team. And I wanted to go over this a little bit. Year one, he established the culture. The Flyers were a complete dumpster fire in 2021-22. We think we have it bad now. The 2021-22 Philadelphia Flyers are the worst version of the team I've ever seen in my life. Even worse than the 06-07 team. I'm willing to go that far. That team was an embarrassment on ice. Not in terms of skill, but in terms of effort and in terms of what they provided. They looked like they didn't give a shit. It was a divided locker room. It was a team that just made you not care about the product. They had 2 separate losing streaks of 10 and 13 games. People forget that. You think it's bad now? 21-22 would get annihilated by this version's team. Tortorella came in here and established a culture, gave this team a healthy locker room, and made this team likable again. Now, mind you, was he the perfect coach for a rebuild? That can be debated. But I think year one Tortorella establishing that healthy culture was a win. Year two Tortorella, how close they came to the playoffs. They took a step forward. Obviously, a lot of it was probably pretty fluky. A lot of these guys, the penalty kill was otherworldly. 16 shorthanded goals. That wasn't happening again, obviously. The starting goalie you had last year, Carter Hart, no longer here from last January on. That was a massive difference. And then, Sean Couturier kind of regressed as the year went on from last year. They had I think it was successful year two, but you could see chinks in the armor towards the end of year two. And I think it started with the Sean Couturier healthy scratching after naming him head captain. When that happened, it kind of planted the seeds for everything that happened today. Torts is I always have said this about Torts. He's fair, but at the same time, some of the stuff is hypocritical to what he preaches. He says one thing and then does another. And as you mentioned with Cam York back on Tuesday, that made no friggin' sense to me. The whole team is playing like ass right now. Why are you benching a guy for a mistake 3 minutes in when you've lost 11 out of your last 12 anyway? You're going to start nitpicking guys like that? Like, come on. Like, that's – I look towards it's like some of the shit he does is hypocritical. But you know what? As a whole, I think his coaching tenure was a success. But this year, you saw the flaws of John Tortorella. You saw the hypocriticalness of some of the things that he said. You saw the Torts that kind of weans on players after a while. The comment I brought up that Trevor said, Torts' coaching style seems like it would get tiring to deal with as a player when you're not seeing results. And that makes sense. His team's missing the playoffs. It's going to be 5 years in a row. 3 of them are under Torts. So when you look at the big picture of things, I get it. But you know what? I'm thankful because Torts did his job. He made this a stable team again.
Yeah, that note, I got to take off.
We'll take care of it from here.
Good night, everybody. Enjoy.
All right.
Good rest of the show. See you later.
Yeah, I'm going to have to take off too. I got to go to bed. I'm sorry, guys.
That's all right, gentlemen. Me and Eric will finish things from here. But so Eric, let me leave this in your hands right now. Where do you think things go from here? You've already given me a little bit of a sneak peek, kind of saying that you think that it's going to probably be more in the direction of a rebuild. Mm-hmm. What do you think? Do you think that it's going to be a full youth movement? Do they bring anyone aboard? Or is it going to be all guys within the organization?
Look, if they can make a move to bring in a center via trade, they're definitely gonna do it. But they're obviously, I think they're gonna target somebody definitely 26 years of age or younger.
Agreed.
There's no point in bringing in anybody older than that. But the thing is, it takes two to tango, right?
I agreed also.
you need to find somebody that's willing to trade you a center. And at the same time, you think about it, like the Flyers are not the only team that's looking for a center. Montreal's looking for
Yeah,
a
I was going to say, the team we just played tonight, they're looking for a 2C right now pretty desperately.
You know, Montreal, Vancouver, Minnesota, all these teams, and
Nashville.
Right? Nashville. All these teams are looking for centers, and like it or not, there's not that many centers available. Like, there's not. Like, off the top of my head, maybe Anaheim might, like, maybe McTavish or Zegras. You know, maybe they'll be willing to part with one or two, one of the two. You know, Buffalo's got a couple good young centers that are still in the minors. Maybe Seattle parts with a Shane Writer and Matty Beniers.
That's the guy I'm looking at is Matty Beniers. I said that on social media.
But again, like, they don't have to.
No, you're right.
And the thing is, like, and that's it. I named you maybe 3-4 centers, but like we said, there's a bunch of teams looking for these guys. So, and
you're gonna have to overpay.
Exactly. And then you look at the UFA market, forget it. There's nothing out there.
No, I'm not sniffing UFAs right now.
Exactly. And honestly, the only guy I would have even considered offer sheeting this summer would have been Wyatt Johnson, but he signed his contract, so that forget it.
You want to consider McTavish?
I think even if you offer sheet McTavish, they're in such good cap.
They have a lot of cap. Yeah,
they have a lot of cap. They'll just match it. So like, there's no point. Same thing with Marco Rossi. Like, but even with Marco Rossi, maybe you could offer sheet him and like with high enough that Minnesota wouldn't match, because Minnesota's they're getting the cap relief from the 2 buyouts.
Yeah,
so they're gonna have a bunch of cap next year. And like, I'm sorry, I like Marco Rossi as a player and everything, but I'm not gonna go over $11 million and give up 4 first-round picks for Marco Rossi.
Yeah, fuck that.
No,
he's small too. That's the issue with him.
I would have done it for Wyatt Johnson, but I don't take that chance on Marco Rossi. And anything under than that, Minnesota's just gonna match. So
no,
that's why.
To answer your question, Trev, no. Sorry, continue. I had to bring that one up. That was a troll comment. He's a Colorado Avalanche fan.
Not a bad player, Jack Drury. He's
a third liner though.
Yeah, so third liner.
We have enough of those.
But yeah, no, but so that's why I don't really see a path where we're really gonna turn it around this off season. And that's why, for me, I think it's just going to be a lot of youth movement next season. So, like, a lot of these guys right now that are playing, like the Lixels, the Abels, and whatever, they'll just be replaced by, like, maybe Luchenko, Alex Bump, who knows, Tuomo. I don't know. But, like, the young kids that we have in the system that are gonna be fighting for playoff for roster spots next season. And like I mentioned previously, I think that's why maybe the coaching change was made, because look at it. I think that when Tortorella took over, and like, obviously he knew that this thing had to be fixed. Like the thing was a mess. But I think he saw, and the organization probably saw, that look, we have enough pieces that they say rebuild, but maybe they thought maybe they could retool it.
Yeah.
But then I think going into this season, when you saw Morgan Frost, like, okay, he's not a top
Mr.
player.
Inconsistency.
Exactly. Yep. Joel Farabee never found his form.
Still isn't.
Still hasn't. And then look, Scott Lawton. Well,
that was time. That was just something that
exactly. So now I think Beer saw this and he goes, okay, this might actually take a little longer than we thought. And we're gonna have to infuse this team with young players, because we're not gonna go spending stupid money on like old veterans. And I think it just got to a point where, and he saw like maybe the way that Torts was starting to deal with these younger players, and he's like, well, you know what? Maybe this is not the guy that we want going forward. We need maybe like a younger, like a younger coach who could identify better with younger players. And I think, and like I said, I don't think he wanted to lose the room completely, so that's why he made the change now.
Yeah. And you know what? And it makes sense, because there's been a lot of, as I mentioned, and as you mentioned, there's just been a lot of inconsistencies the way he's coached. But, you know, at the same time, like I said, I don't want to pig pile on Torts, because I think he's done, for his first 2 years here, he did exactly what you wanted him to do. But every coach's message gets stale after so long. And when you're not seeing results, as Trevor mentioned, perfect example there, this is what happens. And you're going to start having players get pissed off when you're playing the same Russian roulette with them when it comes to their ice time, when it's not leading to anything. So it is what it is. Who do you have for some potential coaching replacement candidates?
Oh, man, that's a good one. I would have to really start looking into it, but
I will say this: keep Rick Tocchet out of this, please. I don't want him.
I don't mind Rick Tocchet. Honestly, like I don't mind just because of what he did in Arizona with, like I said, with that garbage team that he had.
I mean, that's fair, but he just feels like like another type of Torts, and I feel like that's not the type of coach that they need. And you see with how things happening with Elias Pettersson in Vancouver right now, and just Vancouver as a whole, I really don't want to bring in another former Flyer. The only former Flyer I would be happy to bring into this coaching staff if he was available is Chris Pronger. If Prongs was available, yes, come aboard. I'm more than happy to have you. But I just don't want to touch the former Flyer group. I want to do something from the outside. But sorry to interrupt you. Continue.
So then you wouldn't want to bring in Simon Gagne?
No, not this early. I love Gagne, but I want to remember Gagne for how good of a player he was and not get pissed at him if it doesn't work out in the coaching realm. If he wants to be an assistant or work his way up like Briere did, but me to build confidence in him, sure. Right now, I don't want to play that game.
Well, because for me, it's like at this point now, if the team is going in the direction I think it is going, you're gonna want to probably bring in a younger coach that has experience with younger kids, with like junior players or NCAA players. So maybe it's gonna be a younger coach, someone that's in juniors or someone that's in the NCAA right now, because it's this coach, whoever we hire now, is not. I don't think is gonna be, unless he really like succeeds. I don't think he's gonna be the coach that's gonna take us to that next step when the Flyers are really become like a contender. Or so for me, like if it is, let's say, a guy like Simon Gagne, that like, again, I don't know him personally, I don't know his coaching, like his style or whatever. I'm just talking about like a guy that's already teaching young players. And like, look, like St. Louis, like look, St. Louis never, he wasn't even coaching in juniors. He was coaching, I think, Bantam or something. He was, but like these more offensive minded players that have experience with younger players, I guess, in a way, and just to like teach them, and so I don't know, maybe is it gonna be like a something like what's his name, Dave Carl there, the guy from the University of Denver?
I would love to get that. Oh, look who's here.
So
he's all yours, Cam. Yeah, I don't know how he would do at that Bruins room. I'll tell you one thing. And Don Sweeney and him, he beat the shit out of Don Sweeney.
And thank you, Cam. I'm feeling very handsome today. No, but that's it, so maybe that's it. A guy like that, possibly that. But the thing is, I heard from him, right, is that he wants, if he's gonna leave Denver, like he wants, it has to be worth his while, basically.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Yeah. Like he's not gonna take a job that really right now looks like a spot that has a lot of holes. He probably wants stability, which I get. Exactly. I think a team that would probably work out for Carl right now, I mean, from a team that's on the come up, maybe if Ottawa falters, maybe they end up looking at a guy like that. That would be interesting. That's a team that looks like that's potentially ready to compete right now. And if Dallas once again falls short, maybe you move on there and look for another coach. DeBoer is, I'd say if Dallas goes one and done, he could be on the hot seat. They have a lot of talent, and then they go one and done again. That would be something to watch. My guys are interesting. Jay Woodcroft's an interesting name. I think he was decent in Edmonton. I think he kind of got shafted a little early. I know Knobloch ended up bringing them to the Cup last year, but I think he is a pretty damn good coach, a good players coach. Obviously, you know how much I've been for Mike Sullivan. I would be more than happy to have him if Pittsburgh lets him go. But I don't know if his opinion has potentially changed on the job now that Tortorella is gone, because him and Torts are like this. So maybe he would be less reluctant to take the position if Torts isn't there. But then he could also be like, oh, if Pittsburgh's firing me, maybe I want to stick it to my old rivals and go with Philly. So that's a possibility too. David Curl, as you mentioned, he's the big hot commodity in the college ranks. But as you mentioned, I think it is very unlikely he ends up leaving a situation like that. But I think Woodcroft and Sully are probably the top two names that I would like to go for. And thank you, Cam. I appreciate the goodwill. Dallas going one and done if we play them. Maybe that Colorado-Dallas series, we mentioned this on our pod on Monday. That's going to be the best first-round series. I think.
Plus the Dallas injuries concern me.
Heiskanen not being back round one could be brutal.
Sagan should be back, but losing Heiskanen,
Sagan missing all year pretty much. Yeah. How is he going to be right up to playoff speed too? That'll be interesting. But yeah, that's the things when it comes to this. Those are some of the coaching guys that I have in mind. Eric, do you have anything else to add?
No, it's just that I just want to say, you just want to say thanks to Torts. Like, look, he did a good job here. Like, I can't complain. Like, look, every coach has his things, and like we said, the last couple of years, like, he did a really good job here, rebuilding the culture, like giving this team a purpose, and he made Sanheim. He made Sanheim such a better player. He made Kate a better player. He made Brink a better player. And look, he's definitely gonna head butts with. He's not everybody's cup of tea, that's for sure. No. But look, he did some good, and you know what? If he can get back on his feet, and maybe he's the coach that his next stop is most probably gonna be his last, and he needs to go to a real contender.
Like that team that's ready to go. Honestly, that would be fun.
I don't know.
Imagine the Jacob family and getting towards banging down his door. That would be gold.
We'll see. That would be fun.
That's unlikely. Torts ain't going to another rebuilding situation. I think if he goes anywhere, it's to a contender. But
no, that's why I think. Actually, you said before, a team like Ottawa. I think maybe a team like Ottawa might actually be a good fit for someone like Torts. But hey, we'll see. And that's it, man.
And that's it for me as well. Again, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I don't think Torts did everything wrong here, for sure. I mean, there was things that I definitely did not agree with, and I think this year out of his 3 year was probably definitely his worst. But his first 2 years, he did what he was brought here to do. And this is a much healthier team to watch. It's a much better product to watch. It's not the embarrassment we saw 3 years ago. Are they playing worse? Yes, but I think it's more of a lack of talent than lack of effort. I think there's been one game all year that I could point to where they maybe not have gone 100%, and that was that Toronto game on Tuesday. But even then, they did still show some effort. You didn't see that before Torts was here. There would be plenty of games where this team just didn't give a shit, would take nights off. There was reasons why they lost 10 in a row and 13 in a row in the same year. So I appreciate Torts for that. He's not everyone's coach. He's not everyone's cup of tea. Cam York obviously butted heads with him. Sean Couturier butted heads with him. Joel Farabee butted heads with him while he was here at the beginning of his tenure. Konechny and Sanheim both got benched their first years here. I think Tippett even got benched to get mid-game before with him too. So
yeah, one time I think.
I feel like everyone had gotten a torch shaft once. Morgan Frost was his fucking whipping boy. Oh my God. That poor guy. Actually, before we go, I want to end this on a comedic note. What was your favorite Torts quote in his tenure here? And don't steal mine because you know what mine is.
Honestly, I can't think of anything right now off the top of my head. You go. I really can't think of something right now.
Morgan Frost, he's up and down like a fucking toilet seat. Nothing will ever beat that. Last year, when this dude compared Morgan Frost to a fucking toilet seat, I don't know how anything tops that. This dude had some fucking moments here and had some funny ass fucking quotes, but that's the one that stands out. Like when you compare a fucking player to a toilet seat, I don't know what to say to that.
I enjoyed the Torts Anthony Sanfilippo.
With Kevin Hayes
great.
too.
You the one with that silly podcast? Yeah.
You know what?
Okay.
That honestly, that was a good.
That was good.
Interesting one too.
I think that was my favorite. Are you the one with that silly podcast? Yeah.
He ripped it, and he defended Hazy. Like him and Hazy even agreed that they didn't see eye to eye from a hockey perspective, but he stood, and that I respect Torts for that. He stood on his ground and defended Kevin Hayes' honor when it came to that with the Cutter Gauthier bullshit. And he goes, listen, Kevin Hayes is a good man. And I'm like, you know what? I that's the type of dude that'll have you back. Like he will do shit that you don't agree with. And he did a lot of shit this year that I didn't agree with, for sure. But at the end of the day, he's trying to do what he believes is best.
Exactly.
Even if some of the stuff doesn't come out the way it's intended to be.
The thing I always felt about Torts is it was never personal. It was just it was business, basically. He just wanted you to be the best player that you could be, but like you had to play his vision of
it's his way of the highway. Yes, I agree with that.
Cool.
But I think that's going to wrap this one up, gentlemen. We will be back on Saturday. We'll probably have some final thoughts on this. Maybe talk about Sunday, actually, not Saturday. I apologize. We'll be back on Sunday for another regular episode. We'll go a little more in depth with, some final thoughts on this termination, what might be next. We'll have some other topics for you as well that we're still brainstorming, but we'll have some stuff for you. So just because we had this emergency episode tonight does not mean we're not going to have an episode on Sunday. I just want to let you guys know that. So with all that being said, and no, Dakota, we're not bringing Carter Hart back. With all that being said, that's going to wrap this one up. Thank you all for tuning in to another awesome episode of Flyer Gonna Flyer, episode 36 and a half, because this is an emergency podcast. So with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. Have a great night, everyone, and we'll see you all next week.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, give a thumbs up, leave a comment, and please share this video.